Good morning, St. Louis. Welcome back to another episode of Who's Talk Mobile, where conversations get deep and intellectual. It's your host, Artemis Caldwell, founder and CEO of Who Is Incorporated. I know it's been a long time no talk. I'm sorry, y'all, but I'm back with another great guest. Actually, just a returning guest. Everybody, can y'all please help introduce Brother Raw on this conversation, y'all? Coming back.
Peace, beloved. How y'all doing? Brother Ron is here with Brother August.
Thank you for coming out and for real, giving us some wisdom.
Yes, sir. I appreciate, man, my presence here, man. I'm always available to build with the youngsters, man, to build with the brothers when they doing something positive. And I'm always available to share my insight with the brother on matters that are relevant to all of us.
Thank you. And see, with that being said, just to jump into it, this episode we're gonna be talking about reprogramming the young black man. Just something that I can relate to in you yourself, because both of us black, and then on top of that, or male, I myself going through my phase as a young black man, and then you already been a young black man.
Yes, sir.
What advice could you give us, now in our time of need?
Some of the most critical advice that I can give young brothers during your time of need is seek and acquire education. That advice, brother, means educating your mind. That advice. When I say education, I don't mean to be programmed. I mean to bring out that which is naturally inside of you. That's education. If you understand the root word of education, Latin root word education, educare, means to bring out. It means to bring out that which is naturally inside of you. So the first advice that I can give, young brother, is to educate yourself. When you educate yourself and properly educated, then your mind will be at a point to where you see things in a realistic way.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I find myself having trouble finding the right people to help educate myself or bring that with what is already inside out. I don't know who to talk to, so I'm having trouble finding the right advisors, the right people to look up to. How am I supposed to go about that as a young man?
Well, there is brothers out here, information out here that you can seek that will give you the knowledge to educate yourself. Let me say this. When you seek those people and seek that education, I'm going to give you a couple of names. We all are aware of the Honorable Brother Malcolm X.
True.
Malcolm X's knowledge and his divine wisdom can definitely educate you on the knowledge of self. Though Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, these two individuals, there may be some type of dislike by some of our people of them because of the lack of education or the knowledge that we have of them. But when you study Malcolm X, when you study Elijah Muhammad, these two brothers gave us a knowledge that are so divine that if we study the material that they wrote and the signs that they gave us, instantly, brother, we could come out of our in-depth ignorance that we have. Yes, sir, when you asked who to turn to for education, we got to keep in mind that we need to contact or talk about people like Denmark Vesey and even Nat Turner. When you talk about education, when you study these brothers, they gave you information and knowledge, brother, to show you what you need to be an effective young man today. We're not going to limit that education to these brothers who are who lived in America or whatever. We're going to go even across the borders of America into Africa. When you talk about kings and queens, when you talk about Queen Z, when you talk about King Imhotep, when you talk about these God Ra, these people had knowledge, divine knowledge that they gave our people to teach us a blueprint of how to be gods and goddesses. So when you ask me who to contact, these are figures that are part of our people, that are our ancestors, that gave us divine wisdom, that teaches us how to be civilized and how to be gods and goddesses. These are the people that we should be studying as figureheads to keep us as the people who we were before we was miseducated and programmed in America.
That's a lot.
Yes, sir, brother. But it's very important because the younger generation has definitely been programmed. So your effort is to reprogram the youngsters. But in order to be reprogrammed, you have to be reprogrammed in the mind first. And once your mind thinks straight and think right, then you can do right. But until that happens and the programming remains there, you're going to be a victim of miseducation, and your actions are going to be a detrimental to who you are by nature. Because you've been miseducated and because you're programmed. See, when you're programmed as a young man, that means you've been trained. You've been taught to act a certain way. You've been singled out and targeted to be a representative of your own destruction. That's who you are by being programmed. But to be reprogrammed, you have to first remove the dross from your mind, the ignorance from your thinking, and replace that with the divine knowledge that you was given by your ancestors.
So, Brother Rod, let me ask you, I know before I got you here, I had you think about this question. Let me ask you, what's 5 things that you stand for?
There's what you call knowledge, there's what you call divine knowledge, there's what you call education, and there's what you call training. The 5 things that I stand for that are so paramountly necessary in order for you to be seen as God in the flesh, and in order for you to perfect justice on the world. The 5 things I stand for that we need, that we don't have, is truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. Those 5 principles or attributes are a part of your nature. However, they've been replaced by miseducation to whereas we acting as someone who we are not in our nature. So until we understand that truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality are the 5 principles of man, then only then can we act accordingly as man. So as a young brother, though we've been trained to pursue a certain kind of knowledge, and that knowledge that we've been trained to pursue is reading, writing, arithmetic. Those are inferior knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge of yourself, the knowledge of God, and the knowledge of the devil, brother, you don't have no knowledge. Because the knowledge of yourself and the knowledge of God and the knowledge of the devil are in you. But as a young brother, you've been trained to look elsewhere for this knowledge, and that has caused you to act contrary to who you are. So therefore, as a young brother, you have been trained and manipulated for your own destruction. So I would advise you and younger brothers to seek peace, freedom, justice, equality, and the love of self.
But what does that look like, though?
It look in actions and deed. When you talk about truth, that means that the opposite of truth is falsehood. So when you stand on truth, you can see that in your actions.
Yeah.
When you talk about having the knowledge of self, that looks like being self, acting according to self. But who is self? The only way you can find out who is self is to tap into your history. See, being self is not being a young brother who calls himself a nigga. That's not being self. That's one who's been trained to think contrary to who he is. So when you say, how does that look? How does God look? Right? Those principles. When we talk about God, brother, that's a sensitive subject for a lot of people,
right.
Because most of us have been trained by people who acts contrary to peace, freedom, justice, equality, and righteousness. These particular people has given us their perception and concept of God. So this why you ask me how God look. God is an intelligence that appears in the person of man. God also is a wickedness that appears in the perception of man. So when you talk about God, you're talking about a righteous God or a wicked God. So in essence, when you're a young brother and you have been trained to think that God is something that somebody gave you other than what your people taught you God is, then you become a devil in the midst and in the perception of God. That's who you become. So I'm explaining to you, God has an appearance, but that appearance is an intelligence that comes through your actions. That's what God is. God is an intelligence that demonstrates and shows through your actions.
So like feeding your goodness kind of deal. Through your actions, and like, dang, if I help an old lady across the street and that felt good, then all of a sudden I help another old lady across the street, that felt good too. Now all of a sudden I'm giving $20 to the homeless, that also feel good. Is that what you getting at? Like that through your actions, now you can see that you're more so godly, or you feeling good, or getting close to divine righteousness.
Exactly, brother. Through your actions determine which God you represent.
Right.
You did a good deed. That represents what? A good God. So if you unjustifiably commit murder or commit crimes, then you represent God too, but a wicked God. See, that's the difference. Some of us refuse to acknowledge that Satan has power too. But there is a righteous God and a wicked God. So my thing is, when a young brother has the correct perception of God, because we definitely know there's a higher self and a lower self within you.
Right.
The higher self is righteousness and the lower self is wickedness. So we need to decipher between the two of which God we gonna follow. A righteous God or a wicked God, and that can only be manifested through our behavior, what we show the people. Yes, sir, brother.
So, because a lot of us aren't going to church no more. We don't see the purpose, or not necessarily, I wouldn't say the purpose. We see the purpose of it has been blurred. You see now people are going there seeing it as more of a show now. You see what I'm saying? And those same people that introduced Christianity to us are the same people that don't practice that, because while we were getting lynched, while black Christians were getting lynched, there were also white Christians right next to them that were okaying it, and they also deemed slavery okay because the black man had no soul. You see, now doing the research, it just goes to show, what if I can't follow religion or the church that I grew up in, who again, as you pointed out already in history, that I can go forward now. Just if you could just dummy it down for just a viewer, like, how can I find somebody like Brother Raw? Because it's so much of misleading information out here as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, brother. There are a lot of intellectualists who speak beautifully and brilliantly on YouTube. You find a lot of brothers that are knowledgeable on Facebook. My suggestion to the younger brother is to find black authors, Francis Question, and read the material that they have wrote for your divine wisdom. There are thousands of books out here produced by black authors that are so thoroughly composed that once you read these books, your mind would transition to a level of deep understanding. And then you will become educated to know that you've been living a beastful life now that you've been raised civilly into the God that you are.
Say that again. Living a what life?
A beastful life.
Beastful life.
That means that you're living like a beast in human form. That means your actions are beastful, but yet you're pure human. But when you read these books, they'll civilize you and educate you and show you that you're a God and not a beast. So you need to pursue black authors, Francis Wesley. You need to pursue John Henry Clark. You need to pursue brothers like Medunetto, brother who wrote the Medunetto. You need to pursue brothers like Elijah Muhammad, who has the message to the black man. You need to pursue authors that write literature that teach you about the knowledge of self. You need to go and find books that are authored by brothers who talks about the life and the knowledge of Kemet. You need to study the Black Panther Party, who did a divine thing during the 60s. There are many brothers that write books that are relevant to you rising above the savage lifestyle you have lived as a young black man. This has been by design and by plan. During slavery, they separated the family.
Yeah.
They separated the family. They separate the mother from the child, the mother and child from the father.
Yeah.
When you study your history, the black man and the black woman and the black family was always together during the dynastic period, during the king and queendom, during Kemet. They were all together. But it was a design plan by a wickedly wise scientist called the devil to separate you and keep you from having the knowledge of yourself. Satan is a scientist of evil. He's a God of injustice. And this is who taught you. So as a young black man, when you go to church, an institution that was not started in Africa, was an institution that is not created in Africa, an institution that was created by an enemy of you to trick you into worshiping its God, its system,
To keep you down.
to keep you down,
So
and
you don't rebel against them.
right,
Pacify
it's
them.
to pacify you. And I can give you an example of that, beloved. Anytime you believe in a teaching that says let God fight your battles, when the same God gave you hands, arms, feet, and a leg to do what you need to do to fight for your survival, then you've been tricked into submitting to a system that keeps you pacified, waiting on something that'll never happen for you. So what the young brothers must do is educate themselves, seek knowledge from authors that have a history of studying material that clearly shows that the knowledge that you've been given by a system that has your interest not at the best heart. This knowledge will educate you, brother, to bring you out of this thinking, to have you thinking like you should be thinking as a young black man.
Brother, you did.
I also might add this, brother. Merely because you're a young black man and you growing up does not give you reasons to not educate yourself. You cannot depend on what Big Mama taught you. You cannot depend on what Papa taught you, what Granddaddy taught you, because Big Mama and Granddaddy was victimized by this miseducational system as well. Traditional teaching has killed our thinking. Today, brother, we have been traditionalized into believing what Big Mama taught us, what Granddaddy taught us is right. But these are the primary victims of the miseducation system, because what they've been educated and what they've been taught been passed along to you. And now you have been victimized by what they have taught you. That's called traditional teaching, brother. You're responsible for your own acquisition of knowledge because you declare yourself as a man. A man is one who is mentally educated, mentally intellectually declined, mentally sufficient to satisfy his own endeavor and his own destination. That's what a man is. So you call yourself a young man, but that does not give you reasons not to pursue a knowledge that will make you a man indeed. Yes, sir. So we have to remember, brother, orders, having the knowledge of self, God, and the devil are the three supreme pieces of knowledge. Reading, writing, and arithmetic are inferior knowledge when you compare to having the knowledge of self, God, and the devil. We must understand that pursuing or having truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality are the natural attributes of a man.
Say that again for me.
We must.
What was the five you said?
The 5 principles that are etched in our very nature as man are truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. Those principles there is what governs a decent and just man. We lack that today. We don't have that today. The knowledge that we have is an inferior knowledge. And until we understand that those 5 attributes are the nature of man, and we act on those natures, then there will never be justice in the world, brother. Because when you got the enemy who thinks that you are inferior because you got black skin, that's not demonstrating justice. That's not demonstrating peace, and that won't bring you equality, because he thinks of you as an inferior being. And when you have Negroes who lack that knowledge, then they think of themselves as inferior. So you say you have brothers calling themselves niggas, my boy, things like that. Go get your Bible and bring it to Brother Rod and show me where God created a nigga. Go get your Bible in the book of Genesis, in the beginning of creation. Go get your book and show me that God created a nigga. Show me this. So you out here calling yourself a nigga and saying, "Oh man, that's my nigga. This nigga here cool." Brother, that's an insult to who you are and how you was created and what you are. See, the white man made you a nigga, and I'm gonna keep it real. Yeah. The white man made you a nigga. He made you a boy. But when he came out of Greece, Socrates, Plato, Herodotus, when the first Europeans came out of Greece for education, they went to Kemet. And when they reached that land, they say, "We reached the land of God." They said it in their writings. But you don't know this because you don't read, you don't study. The first intelligent and educated Europeans was taught in Africa, in Kemet. And when they came there in their uncivilized thinking to be educated, they say we reached the land of God. Now the same people got you looking up in the sky for God when their ancestors said you God. That's gross miseducation, brother. And we don't think like that today. We have to understand who we are in order to be representative and leaders of today. When you get young brothers who want to be leaders, they have to have that knowledge, brother. If they lack that knowledge, they cannot be leaders. So the advice that I can give you for the young generation is to pursue knowledge, is to pursue a wisdom, is to pursue the knowledge that our people gave the world. Without this world, without the knowledge that our people gave the world, brother, the world wouldn't be in existence right today. You wouldn't have an education that you have today. We created everything.
Now you referring to the Moors?
I'm referring not to the Moors. I'm referring to Imhotep. I'm referring to Amun-Ra. I'm referring to those wise gods that preceded any man today that give you knowledge. But I also would include any brother, even the Moors to an extent, and they have a history, brother, that is that can be discussed and talked about based on my research, that may be in somewhat questionable about their duty and their obligation to our people during certain times, certain periods. I would credit those brothers who have definitely taught the wisdom that I'm speaking about and the science that I'm speaking about. I don't necessarily have to, point out certain brothers, but we have to understand, man, that there is a teaching out here that if embraced, that if accepted, then can raise us from a dead state to a living state. I have a deep concern about the path that the young brothers are taking in light of available knowledge that can teach them different ways than they're going.
And we have so close at their hands, at their fingertips.
Yes, sir. It's readily available. Mm-hmm. But we rather grab a Source magazine. We rather grab a Jet magazine. We rather grab a book that's filled with pornography as entertainment and ignore books that can create gods at once. This is the problem with the young brothers today. And I would hope that this message, that this setting here gives.
But I would say, I'm not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, brother.
If, let's say the values of a young man now have been challenged. I want money now. If this ain't giving me money, no profit, I don't want to talk about it.
Yes, sir.
What do you say to him?
Well, to that brother who allows a piece of paper called money to define his value, then that's a lost brother. Because money comes and goes. Even though we live in a world where finances are necessary to sustain a certain quality of life, that does not replace the value of who a brother is by creation. See, when your money is gone, then who are you? If you don't know who you are and you lose your money, you may even take your life because you have placed so much of your value in the dollar and not yourself. So even though money is necessary and needed, the value of who you are is more important. And when you lack that knowledge, then you'll go out here and do some strange things for some change. And then you become less than who you are as a person.
Okay.
Yes, sir, brother.
Okay. Man, just on a, just looking at it, man, I want us to, I don't even have, that was everything I had. Anything closing you want to say?
Yeah, I want to say this. The brother, you also mentioned something to me about the divide between the young generation and the older generation.
Yeah.
Let me elaborate on that for a minute.
Please.
The division occurs when there is a breakdown in the family, meaning the elders and the youngsters' perception of life is drastically different from what it should be. I am an elder, you are a youngster. Naturally, I'm supposed to teach and educate you so you can grow to be an elder and have the wisdom that I have. Unfortunately, that's not happening. You have many elders who act worse than youngsters. You have many elders who are teaching youngsters destructive behavior, detrimental behavior, and when the youngster acts according to what they have taught, they have no respect for the elder. That creates the division between the elders and the youngsters. When you have elders acting like youngsters and not acting like elders, then the youngsters imitate how they see the elders. So when you have elders with their back to the hat to the back, with their pants sagging, calling women bitches and whores, then the youngsters think that's acceptable, so they act just like the elders. Quite naturally, a youngster wants to be like an elder. Quite naturally, a younger brother wants to be like his older brother. Quite naturally, a young man wants to be like his father. Right. This is nature. But there's a problem. When the older brother and the father acts contrary to their responsibility and their duty, they in turn infects the youngster, and then the youngster acts just like they act, and that causes a division between the elder generation and the young generation. I forecast that if the elders continue to fail in their duty and their obligation to teach the younger brothers, we may be looking at a crisis in the black family. Though we already have a serious problem with younger brothers respecting older brothers, because the older brothers don't respect themselves and don't show youngsters how to respect themselves, and that is a serious problem. The way we are going is going to get so bad that I predict it will be tragedy in the next few years with the black man and the black young brothers. That's my perception. That's my understanding.
But wouldn't that mean just go all along with saying that the black family is under attack?
Well, the black family is under attack because we reject knowledge. That's why we under attack. We're under the most detrimental attack. Yes, sir.
But kept the training though.
Yes, sir. The most detrimental attack on us is us. We understand that there's a system and of people attacking us as well.
Right.
That is an actual fact. But the most serious attack is us attacking us. That's the most serious. If we can stop attacking each other, then we can deal with those outside of us who's attacking us. And until we display this unity, then our disunity is going to befall us at once. So until we understand how important it is to unify, leave all the divisional problems that we have and unify as a people, then our disunity is going to assist in a rapid downfall for us as a people.
Can my neighbor who is white assist in this unity?
Yes. If your neighbor who is a Caucasian, white, or European,
white male, let's say that, he's a white man,
of course he can assist in this unity by accepting the truth. When I say he can assist in the unity by accepting the truth, that means that he must do things that are beneficial to your well-being. Anybody, white, brown, red, yellow, green, can assist in the black man unity if his agenda is to see that the black man are indeed free. So to discount a white man merely because he's white in the rise of your unity and your success as a people, that's evil. Because wickedness is not colorblind. You have black devils, you have brown devils, you have white devils, you have red devils, and you have yellow devils. The problem with that is to limit your thinking of Satan to skin color. Because there is history to show that we can be just as wicked toward one another as they have been wicked towards us. So if you have anybody that has your best interest in heart, whether he's white, green, yellow, brown, that's a person who admires and cares for your well-being.
Which is all at the end of the day that matters.
Which is one's actions at the end of the day that matters towards your development and your well-being. That's all that matters. So if you have a white man and a black man is on the ground and the black man needs resuscitation and the white man resuscitates him, that's a good deed. But when you have a black man on the ground and the brother need resuscitation and the white man turn away and say, I'm not doing it because he's white, because he's black, that's a devil. That's a white devil. I'm going to call it what it is. That's a white devil. But when you have a brother on the ground and he's injured and another brother come and injure him more, that's a black devil. We have to understand that Satan is an action and not based on skin color. So we call a white man the devil, and we got a black man over here who's committed more crimes in a sense that this white man, we refuse to call him a devil because he got black skin. That causes you harm when you think like that. We cannot continue to allow ourselves to think foolishly like that, merely stating that the white man is a devil and you got this black man who looks just like you committing more crimes against you than the white man is doing at that particular time. We got to stop thinking like that, because we harm ourselves when we think like that. You should judge a person by their character and by the way they treat you, and not by how they look or their skin color. That's a wise man who does that.
And with that, see, that's why I would argue racism is on the decline. Because the younger I go, the more children are having this instilled inside them. They know that. They might not know where it come from, but they like, hey, I'm going to jam with you because you cool peoples. I may not know why you cool peoples, but if it may, what's bringing them together, I think, is the drugs now. Drugs has now have a backfire, like weed has black, white, Asians, everybody smoking it now. Even the older and youngsters are now smoking it now, and I'm seeing that actually be a sort of gap for people now, to where they are now having conversations. What else? Business wise, children are now, or even students in colleges, are going to school to have this Fortune $5 million company, you know what I mean? And parents are behind it, and I'm starting to see now the connection that it can have.
Yes, sir.
You see?
Racism, as long as you have racists, will never be on a decline. Understand that, brother. I will agree that the younger white generations see that their parents have taught them lies when it comes to the black man.
Yeah.
And as a result, the younger white generation are saying, hold up, my mother, my father, y'all racist. What y'all taught me, I don't see that in black people. So I want to deal with black people on my terms and not what you taught me to deal with them.
Yes.
That's the younger white generation. But you still have a segment of Caucasians that are running this country, that are old, that are vile in their racism, that are in power, and they still have an effect on racism. But the younger generation of whites see that their parents have taught them lies.
Okay.
And this is why I said to you earlier, brother, all of us are responsible for acquiring our own knowledge. You can't go by what racist John taught you. You can't go by what ignorant Maybell taught you. You got to go by with what you've acquired. You got to go by the facts. You got to go by the knowledge, and you must acquire that knowledge to inform you about what's going on, and not what you've been taught. That's the problem. You know, you've been taught that the white man is the devil. We've been taught that. I think that's an unfair assessment of the quote on the white man, because you have some Caucasians who does not demonstrate wickedness and evil toward black people. So if the white man is the devil, and in our generation, many of us have committed some of the most heinous crimes against each other, then damn it, who is the black man?
Okay.
So this is not about distinguishing between color. This is about distinguishing between actions and deeds.
Just on a closing note for the second time, man, thank you for coming out. I can't say nothing else, but just thank you for being available and helping me build, in your better words.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Everybody, Artemis Caldwell with Brother Raw. We tuning out. I don't even know what else to say. So much knowledge just got dropped. All my skaters out there, I'm sorry. Please stay safe out here. Again, long time no talk. Brother Raw.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the brother welcoming me out to share a few words with the family. It's always a beautiful thing, man, that we can get together and build with each other. And my objective is to ensure that the youngsters hear the message, man, and take heed to it, man, and just think about some things, man, because like I say, the children are our future. And right now, we need a better future than we have. Thank you, Brother Artemis, for inviting me out, man. And I appreciate the family listening to us. And it's all good, y'all. Stay family, stay safe, and we got your love in our heart. Peace and love. Hotel.
All right, y'all.